I would like to call upon on stage all the distinguished panelists to kindly come to the stage. Would like to request Mr. Shoidul Azim, Mr. Ali Mustaqbat, Ms. Lutfullah Farid, Ms. Shehrin Salam Oishi, Mr. Adib Shajjad, and Deepak Shah. Please come to the stage. So kindly requesting Mr. Ali Mustaqbat to kindly come to the stage. Ms. Lutfullah Farid to kindly comes to the stage. Ms. Shehrin Salam Oishi to kindly comes to the stage. Mr. Adib Shajjad and Mr. Deepak Shah. Welcome all the distinguished panelists for your time. And before I start the discussion, I would like to share a few notes for you. You are requested to answer each of the questions within maximum 3 minutes. And after the round of discussion on stage, we would also like to take a few questions from the floor. So first, I would like to ask question to Mr. Ali Mustaqbat, Honorable Commercial Counselor and Head of Trade Mission, Embassy of Denmark in Bangladesh. So Denmark is, of course, one of the main apparel destination for Bangladesh, apparel industry, one of the export destinations. So my question to you, how the development partners like the Embassy of Denmark could help the growth of the country's apparel industry? Particularly, could you share some of the activities of your embassy to support the sustainable growth of Bangladesh apparel industry?
So first of all, we're positioning Denmark to be the sustainable partner, a preferred sustainable partner for unlocking the most sustainable sort of development and growth here in Bangladesh. So it's not just about development as in development assistance, but looking more comprehensive also on the trade and investment elements of it. Because where Bangladesh is today, it is all about trade and investment and ensuring that Bangladesh is getting integrated into global supply chains. And that's the backdrop for us from the Danish side is one of global turbulence. So how do you work with Bangladesh to get them more integrated into these supply chains, even more so than what is the case now? So very much from our perspective about building robust and secure and sustainable supply chains. Now, when it comes to the initiatives that we're taking, it ranges from the embassy level to how we work with our private sector. So for instance, we have at the embassy initiatives where we have government-to-government technical cooperation related to workers' rights, labor efficiencies, productivity gains, whereby you have knowledge transfer at a technical level, at a government-to-government level, and those can be then instilled and implemented in the private sector as well. We are also working with our multilateral partners, like for instance the World Bank's private sector arm, the IFC, to support PAC program, for example. And we saw recently the very good development where TTBC has moved from the PAC program into being integrated in the BGMEA, which is excellent. On a similar note, what we are doing is also to rally the private sector. So if you look at the bilateral trade between Bangladesh and Denmark, it's at $1.3 billion, and 1 billion of it is actually in the textile sector. So you have large companies like Bestseller, DK Company, and Sports Group Denmark, but also a whole range of SMEs that are sourcing from Bangladesh, right? But what we're doing is that we want our companies to source even more sustainably, not just the big ones, but also the small and mid-sized ones. So how do you do that? Because that's not easy for Danish small companies to do. So that's why we have launched our Sustainability and Supply Chain Advisory at the embassy. It's a 8-person team, cross-functional, which is working with Danish SMEs to source more from here, besides also bringing Danish companies to sell their solutions here, of course. And finally, we are working with, I talked about building sustainable supply chains, right? So how do you do that? It's not just about production. It's not just about, you can build the world's most green factories here in Bangladesh, But if you do not have green logistics, sustainable logistics, where you pick the goods up from the factory and deliver it to the end consumer, it's going to be very difficult. So that's where we work with our companies like Maersk and APM Terminals, one of the largest port terminal operators, to invest in Bangladesh up to hundreds of millions of dollars to develop new container terminals, which will be state-of-the-art green ports, and also invest in the further inland logistics of it. And also, how do you power these factories? I can only commend the great progress that the industry has done with investment in solar power, but you need something at utility scale. And that's where, for instance, another Danish consortium led by CIP, Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners, and Copenhagen Offshore Partners, in collaboration with their local partners, Summit Power, is in the process of investing or developing Bangladesh's first offshore wind energy project. It would be a 500 megawatt, $1.3 billion project, and really breakthrough industry, which none of the other countries in South Asia has done so far. So to sum it up, Denmark is a sustainable country. We have a lot of international obligations. We are investing heavily in our own country, and we see Bangladesh as a natural partner where we can have an impact. And the best way of doing it is not just government-to-government collaboration, but also by rallying the private sector to invest more here and collaborate.
Thank you. I will come back to you again. Now I would like to move to Ms. Lutmala Fari, Director of Pacific Jeans. So when we talk about unlocking the untapped potentials, undoubtedly innovation would be one of the keys. So we know that Pacific Jeans is one of the pioneers in innovation in the denim industry. But my questions to you, how could the innovation be spread across the apparel industry of Bangladesh?
As the apparel industry is shifting towards circularity and the manufacturers are facing increasingly the challenge of disruptive innovation, they are struggling to keep up pace with these changes. So the spread of innovation will take place when the push comes from the customers, but the push should be along with commitment, long-term commitment of the customers will flourish the spread of the innovation, because innovation comes with cost and the investment will be made rigorously if the level of commitment is high. With level of commitment, if the commitment is low, the vendors and the manufacturers will feel skeptical to go for investment. And on another note, business as usual won't take the industry further. Innovation is needed, and the industry leaders should have a mindset to instill a culture of innovation across the organization. The culture of innovation spark creativity, will make the organization more adaptive to, in response to change, and make it more effective, agile. And I think the connectivity, network, and collaboration among the stakeholders to know about the competitive landscape, what the peers are doing, and what innovation the stakeholders are bringing on the table is important to know. This kind of event like Denim Expo is important and playing a vital role in nurturing us and disseminating the information and spreading the knowledge sharing.
Thank you. I will come back to you again. I would like now to move to Ms. Shahrin Salam Oishi, Director of BGMEA. So my question to you that we are hearing for quite some years, for the next growth trajectory of Bangladesh apparel industry, Bangladesh should focus on the man-made fiber apparels. So my particular question to you is, what are the challenges actually to promote man-made fiber production in Bangladesh, and how could we actually increase our productions in the man-made fiber category?
Thank you for the question. I would like to address the question more like from my very perspective of a young entrepreneur at this moment. Beginning with how we actually concentrate on what to produce and what not to produce. So it all depends upon the statistics. When we are playing with the world statistics, what comes in our mind for the first at the very beginning is there is an opportunity of the man-made fiber products, which ranging approximately around 65 to 70% across in the world. But unfortunately, Bangladesh is only housing around 25 to 30% of that same amount. So there is a huge opportunity looming across us at the moment, and we feel that given we have already aced a lot over the 4 decades in this industry, and we are looking for new options like high value-added products, and we have other options open and the other doors we're looking for. Man-made fiber is the next best alternative we can speed up to. When we are actually going for a new industry to begin at the moment, let's date back to 1980s when our fathers or the very first generation started this business. So when we are starting a new, our production on man-made fibers, it's like we're starting a new industry. People might say, oh, it's the same ready-made garments. No, it's not. The system is different, the production lines would be different, the setup is different, the industries is something very different altogether. So the very first thing that knocks at our mind is how do we start it? There are 3 very important things that needs to be concentrated at this point, which is adaptability, acceptability, and the beginning. The beginning of anything is a challenge, and this industry will be none other than without any challenge at the moment. The very first thing we look for is the finance and the mindset of the pioneers who have still been running this industry, that whether they are set to start this new production line. To the world, it might be just another garment being produced, but to the producers, it's entirely a different world, a different universe that we need to explore. As the previous panelists were talking about R&D, the R&D will play a huge role over here because we need to innovate, we need to change, we need to sharpen our methods of production, and whatsoever it is, this whole new set of production would solely concentrate on a new dimension of products which we are quite not into. You can count in your hands in the number of factories that concentrate on man-made fiber products at the moment, and they're very few. So seeing from the ones who have already started, looking up to the government for some help, some subsidies like this industry always looks up to, because it's a totally new setup and probably a lot of risks associated as well. And obviously, it's a mindset. We would like some training, some TOT would be really wonderful, because there are people who are wanting to start it, but there are a lack of innovations and knowledge of the system which actually hinders us from getting into this whole the system of production. And lastly but not the least, we would really seek cooperation from buyers across the world. When we are opting for a very different means and method of production, we would expect their cooperation in that very likewise manner as we are getting from the other ways. Thank you.
Thank you. I will come back to you again. So now I will look to next question from Mr. Shoidul Azim, Vice President of BGMEA. So my question to you, sir, that Bangladesh has exploited almost its potentials in the Europe and USA. Both of them are big markets for us, but still now we see that markets like the Middle East or the new markets remain largely untapped still for the Bangladesh. So my questions to you, how could Bangladesh explore these new markets?
Thank you very much. Yeah, we know that our conventional market is USA, European Union, UK, mostly. And for those markets, we are exporting 80% of our total export. That's $46 billion. And rest of the world, we are exporting about 20%. So as you know, we are suffering with the challenges, global challenges, back-to-back challenges from the COVID, after all the geopolitical crisis, now another war is coming up, Israel and Hamas. So that time we are very much worried to keep our growth. We had to concentrate to Asian market as well. We got a very good result. How you know? We have exceeded that more than $100 billion to India, $1.5 billion to Japan. Also, we have crossed $1.2 billion in Australia. So those are new markets for us. I still remember we had a lean time for the sweaters manufacturers 4 months earlier. After that, we explored Latin American market for geographical reverse weather in the USA or Europe, then to Latin America, just reverse. Now we don't have any lean time. We are working 12 months of the years. So that is our advantage. We have still so many untapped market, something like Gulf market. It's a market of $14 billion, where we are exporting right now $400 million. So we have to concentrate to those markets, Gulf market, African market, and still we are trying to extend our business in Korea market. That is a very emerging market for us. We also had been in those markets. In meantime, we had been in Australia with our showcases from Bangladesh because there are so many customers who are not known to our market. In fact, we are trying to explore those markets, and we are getting very good result. And to keep on our growth, we have to tag more new markets. We have to do a lot of things to something like market diversification, product diversification, so many things to do. So in fact, we are trying our best to explore that untapped market, not only the conventional market. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights. I will come back to you again. Now, I would like to move to Mr. Deepak Shah, Group CEO, Bangladesh and Vietnam, Tax Fasteners. So, my questions to you is how the backward linkage companies, like the accessories companies, could support the sustainable growth of Bangladesh apparel industry.
Thank you for your question, and I'm very happy to be here. First of all, if you look at our category of accessory companies and all, we represent about 5 to 10% of the total FOB value of whatever is being exported. So by that logic, if we are exporting around $45 billion worth of garments, then there is about 1.5 to $2 billion worth of accessories. And when we talk about accessories, the industry that I represent, which is largely zippers and metal hardware, that represents about 50-60% of that $2 billion, so close to $1 billion. More interestingly, our industry is not so much only about garments, it is also about metals. We call ourselves metallurgists because we shape metal which is used in the garments. And so the impact with respect to sustainability and with respect to, all the practices that we do in terms of saving the environment become very broad-based. It is just not only focused on garment, but because of the garment industry, you have a very serious impact on some of the other industries as well. Now, in terms of what the accessories companies like us can do, I would say there are two major points. The first point is linked, of course, with the various sustainability initiatives that we can take. So the major point comes in recycling. So whether it is recycling of materials, for example, tapes or the metals that are used. Now, most of the companies, a lot of companies, including ourselves, are introducing recycled metals as well. There is a huge amount of water saving. In the last panel, there was a very interesting discussion about, it's not possible to have 100% water-free, garment. But we have about 98% water-free zippers and metal hardware that we are right now offering to the market, and many brands are liking it. Just to give you a small statistic, for every 100 fly zippers that are made, about 8 to 10 liters of water, about 100 liters of water is utilized. And if we use what we call as the waterless zippers, then almost 98% of this water can be saved. So from the point of view of sustainability, there are a lot of initiatives that our industry can contribute in the overall sustainable footprint of the government. The second point that I want to highlight, and which I think is even more important from the sustainability of the business perspective and from creating competitive advantage for Bangladesh, is the ability of accessory manufacturers to further backward integrate and be able to control the supply chain. Most of the garment manufacturers here would agree that, sometimes your fabric is ready, everything else is ready, but you did not receive your zippers on time or your buttons on time and the shipment got delayed. In order to avoid these kind of supply chain shocks, the accessory manufacturers, those who are doing backward integration, they are going to be the ones who are going to be able to provide reliability in terms of supplies. So I think these are the two broad points that we can do as our industry to support the
thank
larger
you.
cause.
One complementary questions. Could you share some of the latest innovations of text fasteners?
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So one of the first things, and I really appreciate the comments made on R&D. Our headquarter is in India, and we are present in multiple countries, including Vietnam, India, and Bangladesh. But for us, Bangladesh is one of our most important markets. And so our global R&D center, including design, development, everything, has been set up in Bangladesh and not in our head office, And one of the main reasons for that is that we believe that this is the place where true innovation can happen, and all other factors are there to contribute. As I mentioned, some of our latest innovations, of course, we do provide a whole range of sustainable products, recycled products. But two things that we do very unique are that we provide trims which have 98% water efficiency, like 98% less water is used. And secondly, we provide 100% of traceability on all our sustainable products. So we have waterless zippers, we have waterless buttons, we provide recycled material. We are the first company in India, which in Bangladesh, to get GRS certification on zinc waste, which probably nobody till now has. Maybe somebody would have got it now. We have our own green loom, which is powered by solar panel in India, from which all our tapes are coming. So these are some of the highlighted innovations that we have done. Basically, sustainability is at the core of everything that we do.
Thank you. Now I would like to move to Mr. Adil Shajjat, Country Manager, Sol V8. So when we talk about the unlocking the untapped potentials, one of the discussions comes in is how to increase the efficiency of Bangladeshi apparel factories. So my questions to you, what are the latest digital advancement that Bangladesh apparel industry could utilize to increase efficiency?
Well, thank you for your question, and it's a pleasure to be here at this panel. Well, Bangladesh has been at the forefront of adopting technology over the last decade. In fact, some of the manufacturers, they take pride in being early adopters for technology. That's what we have noticed so far, right? And this has helped manufacturers to take a quick leap. And if we see this transformation, over the first 5 years, manufacturers were drastically able to reduce their roadblocks in terms of production, right? And also improve the skill power of their people that they're working in their factories. And as a result, industry as a whole, they have been able to place themselves with all the foreign manufacturing companies. And a good example of this is the denim industry. If you look at it now, we're at a point today where we're counted as some of the best manufacturing setups in the world, right? With an adequate or necessary backward linkage that's in play as well. And what denim industry has also done is they have infused technology with training the skill of their manpower that's currently working in their factory, and has set themselves as an example for other manufacturers to learn from. Now, to directly address your questions, right, where we are right now, before I talk about the future, is that we're at a crossroad between adopting to technology or having custom-built solutions for the factory. And I personally believe that industry experts, IT consultants, they should help the manufacturers to move away from adapting to technologies and advise them to go more for customized solutions. And because you see, unlike any other manufacturing business, the apparel business is very unique when we look at the processes. So firstly, and to give a good example, is that any solution should be very easy to use for the end users in the factory. This could be the operators or where the data is coming from in the primary stage in the shop floor. So for that to happen, the interface needs to be easy. It has to be user-friendly. It cannot be complex, right? Because then that will derive the end users from the value of the system. So what we've also observed is a lot of complex solutions who have a lot of features, they fail to be in the factory. And the number one point is that the end users is not usable for them. It's a burden on them. And another practical standpoint that we see, two practical standpoints actually. Number one is currently, how is data being translated into the factory? Any production progress, whether it's about your production, raw material, everything happens batch-wise. It could be hourly in a factory, it could be in 6 hours, or it could be ideally what we see is at the end of the day, right? So we're working on post-mortem data. So we need to move away from this, and any new technology that's coming into this space has to work with real-time or streaming data. And lastly, what you'll notice is at most of these manufacturing units are located away from the cities or in remote destination. So there's a huge internet connectivity problem that factories face. So how do we address that issue? That also comes into play. Because what if you don't have internet? Then does your production stop? So when we think about customized solution, we also need to think about, does my system give offline validation as well? So we have the system in place.
So Mr. Adib said the one complementary question, being one of the country manager of the companies for the digital solutions, we see the fourth industrial revolutions actually disrupting the whole industry, and things like artificial intelligence is also increasing the efficiency of other industries. So my question to you, what could be the potential use of artificial intelligence in Bangladesh apparel industry?
So artificial intelligence or AI is built to amplify any organization's memory and improve their decision-making process, right? So what we see in the apparel industry is that the lifeblood of the industry is the human component, the human element. And here I see three use cases of artificial intelligence which maybe the industry can benefit in the future. Number one is, if we have all of this data in place, artificial intelligence could help a new operator who comes in place, right, to learn their job quicker. Because if someone who's been in the factory for a long time and they suddenly leave, they take away all this experience with them. Another issue is, another point that I have is that in terms of predictive maintenance, artificial intelligence could help get data from your machine and predict when the machine would break down so we can take proactive actions. And this would lead to reduced downtimes in the factory and overall increase their efficiency. And lastly, what I'd like to address is from a quality standpoint. Like today, Mr. Maher, he's here, he was at our stall, he was mentioning that, okay, what if QC checkers, they input the wrong data in terms of defect, right? Because human errors can happen. So if we train the artificial intelligence in terms of computer vision better, they'll be able to, if there's a vision camera, they can maybe see the work in progress, right? And see what type of defects are actually made, which cannot be caught by the human eye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would like to now move again to Ms. Lutmila Farid, Director of Pacific Jeans. And my questions to you that in spite of having the fact that Bangladesh apparel industry accounts for more than 84% of the country's total export, we see still graduates from top universities in Bangladesh at large are still reluctant to build their career in apparel sector. So how could the talented top universities graduates could be encouraged to build their career or choose their career in the apparel field?
Though apparel sector is the vital contributor in export and positioning second across the world, we fail to generate enough human capital for this industry. Our education sector has not produced enough graduates to cater this industry. There are only a few universities who are offering courses related to apparel industry. Most of the public universities don't have any subject or courses which caters this industry. Like we don't have many graduates on industrial engineering, fashion designing, apparel merchandising. Few universities are offering, but this is not sufficient to cater the growing need of the industry. So we have 50,000 expats working in this industry, which is increasing our operation cost, and at the same time, it's draining the foreign exchange. We need to collaborate with more universities, industry, academia. Collaboration is required for that to develop curriculum and offer courses to develop this industry so that the industry get graduates, skilled graduates, technical and soft skill both to meet their demand. So I think the government should take initiatives, the IFC, NSTA, ILO, all organizations are working to develop skill in this sector. They should work with government, industry, and university together to develop human capital for the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your valuable thoughts. Now I would like to come to Ms. Sherin Salam Oishi once again. So when we talk about the unlocking the untapped potential, unfortunately, the ease of doing business in Bangladesh is one of the big problems. And Bangladesh is still first among the last of the ease of doing business index. So you being also at the trade body, how could this ease of doing business index improved for Bangladesh? So what are the things Bangladesh could do to increase its index?
That's one tricky question. I'll have to skip some parts and be very diplomatic here. But then let's, as a businessman, let all other things stand by. As an entrepreneur, you know, I as a third generation entrepreneur, I would like the business to be so easy that I'll get my orders, I'll get them prepared, it will be easy to ship, and there will be some, you know, documentation in between. But you know, our whole system falls within decade-old of bureaucracy, which is something we, not just us, our forefathers have been dealing with. So it's not I cannot get this out of this whole system in like a night or so. It's not like I just blink of an eye and an Aladdin comes and it changes. It all depends upon people's acceptability and mindset. You see, we are tackling and battling a lot of international evils at the moment. We have an international body who are setting up requirements every now and then. I still have 2 audits running in my company at the moment. 2 of my factories are going, having some random audit coming over the last 4 days. So these things we are going on an ongoing basis. We have problems in bargaining with orders, as the world and everyone in this platform would know. We are not very powerful in bargaining stances, and let alone that, the prices that we are paid, many might call us that we are still hungry for better prices, but come on, we are not paid well. So challenging all those issues at the moment, how do you think we are still at the point of doing business in a country when I have to pass 20 to 30 documentation just to get my my orders passed off from my factory up to the point where they're shipped? It's not really possible. And renewing my licenses every now and then, and all the mediocre bodies that I have to face in between, it's not really that easy. As I was discussing a little bit ago with my senior colleague, He mentioned that out of the 98 countries, we are 169 in ease of business. What a disappointing statistics. But it's my country, so I cannot let it be. But all I and this generation expects is we are going to change our mindset. We have to reduce usage of documents. First of all, throw away the files. Let's use the media, the technology. Let's come back into the idea when you type the name of my factory, you type the numbers, my serial number, and all the documentation for past 20 years comes in one jiffy. So I need that system. Secondly, I need the human resources to be efficient, and I need them to work without other sorts of helps. I hope you know what I mean. So these things are very much a mindset issue, and obviously we cannot do that alone. I seek the government and the other stakeholders must provide upon my seeking that. And it's a thing which will happen over the years. And it would definitely come up upon my consensual actions of that of the stakeholders too. But it is the ultimate truth is without the ease of business, ultimately this generation is going to wear off because we are skeptical, we are anxious, and we are really scared of expansion at the moment, given we are seeing so many national hurdles at the moment. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I would like to now move again to Mr. Shoidul Azim, sirs. When we talk about the unlocking the untapped potentials, so not only the things like increasing our export, but also these discussions comes in how to actually increase our export to the value-added brands. So we know that brands like Nike, Lululemon, or Burberry, or LVHM, Gucci, they do not even now take their production from Bangladesh. Their issue is not the capacity of Bangladesh, but the reputation of the made in Bangladesh. So how could we brand made in Bangladesh more loudly?
Thank you very much. Last year in November, we had a Made in Bangladesh week, very successful week. Many customers, delegates came, almost more than 1,600 were in Bangladesh. And we have a lot of success story in our basket. So we can speak out about those. Something like Bangladesh is now considering as a role model of global sustainable manufacturing hub. We are also working very good. We have an ethical practice, and we have our green factories, highest number in the world. So earlier we used to work only for 5 items, 5 basic items. But now is not the time. Those are gone. We have to go with the world. We have to work with that man-made fiber. She was telling man-made fiber, high value product, something like suit, blazer, lingeries, and no more T-shirt. Those days are gone. So we have to develop ourselves. Earlier we believe on that quantity of production, but we have to at the same time value-added production. We have to add in our basket. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to sustain the business, global business, for which we are trying to explore new market, new product diversifications, and so many ethical things we are going to do. As you know, we have a roadmap by 2030. We'll export $100 billion, but it is also easy job. However, we are very much optimistic. We can go closer to that if we use right now that high-value product, and we have to follow something like our competitive country, Vietnam, China. So I think it's enough for T-shirt and shorts, swim shorts. Sustainability is now the main agenda of our business, and the people, the product, the factories only can survive with good products, something like sportswear, outerwears, and for which we are concentrating. We are also working for man-made fiber. After illicit graduation, we have to have our own fabric, raw materials, accessories in our country after 2026. So we have to prepare ourselves for those. We have to make all the homeworks, all the exercise in the meantime. And our factories, our manufacturers, they're working on it. We have the research and development for man-made fibers. I hope still we can go forward with competition with the global market for man-made fiber higher end products.
Thank you, sir. So my last questions to Mr. Ali Mustakbat. My questions to you, looking forward, where Bangladesh apparel industry should focus to explore its further potential in the European markets? I know it's a broad questions, but I would like to know your thoughts on it.
Well, thanks for the broad question. And to be honest, I believe that the smart entrepreneurs and businessmen we have here in Bangladesh who've done great progress and brought Bangladesh to where we are will know how to penetrate further into the European markets and international markets. But from obviously a Danish perspective, a European perspective, our guiding star, so to speak, is the EU Textile Strategy 2030. And you have a range of directives associated with a package of 16 at least right now, more maybe coming up. So it's important to dissect those directives. Our companies are doing that still. So I'm sure that the process is going on here in Bangladesh also. Certainly the industry should look into that very carefully. There's a lot of components that need to be addressed. Circularity, recycling of fibers, but certainly also the entire traceability and digitalization aspect of it. We're also seeing a trend in Denmark of green microfactories coming up. I would say one thing though. If you look at the Danish model and indeed the Nordic model, it revolves around, a lot around partnerships and collaboration. So if I look at how we partner with Bangladesh at a bilateral level or at a multilateral level, or for that matter, using our convening power to bring Danish private capital to Bangladesh and bring Danish solutions, technologies to Bangladesh, things can also go the other way around, right? So just like Bangladeshi companies are going to Europe, selling their products, we saw the video earlier of the event in Amsterdam. It's all about building a narrative. And when you build a narrative, it takes time. You need to bring in the nuances. So it's good to attract companies, attract investments to Bangladesh, but certainly I believe there's scope for Bangladeshi companies to, for instance, go to Denmark and set up shop there, establish a subsidiary or open a company. We're a land of SMEs, open up a small company in a technology park, in all of these industrial parks that we have there, and suddenly become a European company, a Danish company. Suddenly you'll have access to also me and us as an embassy here, as well as our entire global network, as well as our Danish and European networks, right? Why can't Bangladeshi companies do that? Some are doing that, by the way, but more of that, because partnerships and collaborations is what's going to allow companies to sharpen their axe on an ongoing basis, and you're closer to your demand as well. So I think I'll just park it at that.
Thank you all for your valuable insights. In fact, it's been a very interesting and insightful discussion, and we have already crossed our time, so unfortunately we could not take questions from the audience, and now one of our panel speakers has to catch flight, so we would like to conclude our panel discussion here, and I would like to request all of you to kindly stand up for a group photo, and also request Mr. Mohiddin Rubal, Managing Director of Bangladesh Apparel Exchange, to also kindly join the group photo.